The Skyline is Japan's Godzilla. The car that made Japan's car culture famous, the car that made Japan's incredible car culture what it is today, the car that made Japan the face of the car world over and over again is the Skyline. This is every Skyline ever. The first Skyline that was in production was a Prince, not a Nissan. It was developed by Prince Motor Company, introduced in April of 1957. It was a luxury four-door sedan, which focused on comfort rather than performance, and was powered by a 1.5-litre engine. The Skyline was not yet a Nissan, but in the early stages of becoming a legend. The Prince legend was produced up until 1966, the first generation producing 33,759 units. The second generation, which came out in 1964, the S50, produced 114,238 units, and was the last Prince before being badged under the Nissan name. Within this generation, the first Skyline GT came out, known as the S54A1, which had over 100 units produced. The Skyline Sport Coupe being another example in this production time of their outstanding performance cars. Now, this led to the Skyline becoming a Nissan in 1969, known as the C10, which had a performance-bred straight six, Skyline GTR, which had a massive 160 horsepower, massive for the time, weighing only 1,120 kilograms, or about 2,500 pounds. It was unveiled at Tokyo Motor Show. The GTR won 52 races in the first 3 years of competition. It relayed a 4-valve dual overhead cam engine, powered an independent suspension for its remarkable handling, with 310,447 units being sold. Now, onto the next Skyline, which was the CC10, which came out in 1973 and was the production until 1977, known as the Kenmari, thanks to the commercial owners known as Ken and Mary. It was the last series to have a GTR version until the release of the R32. The GTR version was released in 1973 and had sold over 670,000 units, with 197 of those units being the GTR version. Now, in 1977, the C210 was introduced. Production ran until August 1981, powered by the L20ET, the first engine that was powered by a turbocharger in Japan on a production vehicle. The lowest powered Skyline of this era had 64 horsepower and was a van with a 3-speed manual column shift, being one of the rarest Skylines to ever be built, with 33,759 of them being built total. The R30, the 6th generation of Skyline, was released August 1981. It was nicknamed the Newman Skyline, after actor Paul Newman appeared in its commercials. It was available in 1926. Sorry, that is my fault. It was available in 26 variations, not 26. Jesus Christ. Including coupe, 4-door sedan, 5-door hatchback, and a 4-door wagon. But it was generally Nissan's Corolla, with a total production of 406,432 units. The R31 was also built in Australia. It was sold with a 3-litre variation that was exclusively fitted in Australia with the RB30 in E, though it didn't have a turbo option, except for the silhouette. Being built from July 1985 to April 1989 in Japan and 1986 to 1990 in Australia, with 309,716 units sold over its life cycle. It was bigger, boxier than the previous models. It was also Australia's top dog when it came to drifting. 2 came out in 1989 with its all-wheel drive. The R32 chassis became touring champion in 1993 with the R33 variant, with winning 29 consecutive touring championships, being the first car to reintroduce the GTR since the C110, also bringing arguably one of the most gorgeous cars to the bringing the R32 Nismo GTR RLM. Yes, that silent was needed for that, with 313,491 units being sold in its lifetime. The R33 was based on the R32 chassis, came in 1993, August of that year, with 217,133 units were sold and ceased production in 1998, and the GTR ranged November 1998. Had the option of the front engine, rear wheel drive, and all wheel drive. The R33 was introduced in January 1995. It was faster and more stable and had all new all-wheel drive system called the Atessa ETS Pro. The Atessa ETS Pro. The R34 was released in 1998 with the 64,623 units sold being available in 4-door and 2-door coupe. A 5-speed gearbox and an RB25 DNT Neo, which had more fuel efficient and more option for a 4-speed automatic. The R34 was widely most popular Skyline, by far being the most iconic thanks to Too Fast, Too Furious. Now, it wasn't the most popular in sales, but it was the most memorable. And that was mostly because you couldn't buy it in many countries in the world. And had multiple trims available, though it had low sales. As I said before, the rest of the world, because of the domestic market, it was too mean. It was not safety standards for other countries internationally, and they just couldn't care to make it so. The V35, also known as the Infiniti G35, which came in 2001, with the initially just the sedan version through to 2002, the coupe version. The sedan version ceased in production in 2006, while the coupe ceased production in 2007. There is no known public figures of official sales on record. The 336 from 2006 to 2014 also sold under the multiple different variations with the style of 4-door, 2-door, and 5-door SUV crossover with rear, wheel, and all-wheel drive options. The V36 was not a car that people remembered, more so forgot, along with the previous V35. It was a flop to memory. Now, the R35, released in 2007, had seen multiple upgrades since its initial edition. It was built all the way up until August of this year, or 2025, depending on when you're watching this, with the approx 28,000 to 48,000 units made, with the first generation of the R35 having 473 horsepower, and the fastest having 710 horsepower, being the GT-R 50, and it's no longer the longest standing variant of Skyline for 18 years. The V37 released in 2014 to replace the V36, and it still stands to today. And the V37 was also sold under the Infiniti badge as a luxury car in the US. It was sold with the original Mercedes engine. Later in 2019, sold with either a V6 twin turbo or a V6 hybrid, with updates in 2017 and 2019. There is no specification on how many have been built to date, but I can estimate about 40,000. Don't take that off to the hand though. The R36 is to be released in 2026. Not much is known about it. The R36 Skyline, some figures online predict it's a hybrid with having over 1,000 horsepower, but that is unlikely. The hybrid bit is potential, but this will be the next Godzilla. Truly, if it's that powerful. It will be take on record time on the Nuremberg track. It's known to be the lineup. We have no idea what it will look like. We just have concept art from AI. Or if it will be petrol, hybrid, or electric. Completely. We just don't know what's coming. The Nissan Skyline is one of the best production cars of all time. At a time, it was Japan's Commodore. And even Australia had its own Skyline in the shell of the Commodore, the VL Commodore. We should go watch my video on it here. Like and subscribe. Have a good day, guys.